Kraven the Hunter has officially fulfilled its destiny as the flop it was always meant to be. As if lighting $100 million on fire by making a movie about an irrelevant Marvel character wasn't enough, they took things a step further by fundamentally altering the comic book character from his original imagining. Add in some dog shit acting, cringy dialogue, weak villains, and a plethora of horribly fake, meme-worthy Russian accents, and you have a recipe that's become all too common with these throwaway cape films. And we'll talk more about the latest, and possibly last, Sony Spiderverse movie that doesn't feature Spider-Man after we run down a quick premise for the film. So it's not like you care, but there may be some spoilers coming your way. Kraven the Hunter is the superpowered alter ego of Sergei Kravenov, the estranged son of Russian crime lord and renowned hunter Nikolai Kravenov. One day, when on a hunting safari, Sergei gets mauled by a legendary lion after he hesitates to kill the animal, and during the attack, some of the lion's blood falls into Sergei's open wound. He's found by a random girl named Calypso, who gives him some potion that her African witch doctor grandmother gave her, and after he dies, he soon reawakens, now empowered with the enhanced strength, speed, reflexes, and senses of the animal kingdom. He leaves home and his despotic father, and disappears into the Siberian wilderness where he becomes one with nature. Fast forward 15 years, and Sergei has become Kraven the Hunter, a superhuman figure of myth who hunts, stalks, and kills his prey, cleaning up the criminal underworld one by one. Now, right off the bat, Kraven from the comics is a fundamentally different character. He received his enhanced abilities not from magical lion blood, but from a serum he got from an African witch doctor, which tracks a little bit with what happened in the film, although this time it was given to him when he was on the verge of death by a teenage Calypso. But that's pretty much where the similarities end. Movie Kraven is shown to be a lover of animals, hesitant to kill, and much of his time was dedicated to stopping poachers. Meanwhile, real Kraven was known for his love of hunting, caging, and killing animals, hence, you know, the hunter part of his name. But apparently that's a bridge too far in a movie about a villain in current day, as is being faithful to source material. Also, Calypso was a voodoo priestess in the comics, but in this movie she's just kind of a random lawyer living in London because I guess voodoo priestess isn't exactly kosher in 2024. And her only role is to literally show up at random in the movie, all over the world, and save Kraven. That's her only purpose here. Needless to say, this movie is packed to the gills with weak characters. Kraven is a dud, and I think their only plan was to have people think the character is cool, and that would make him a good character. I mean, look at him here. Doesn't he look cool? Isn't this a cool outfit? Well, he doesn't even wear this and do this pose until literally the last frame of the movie. Compounding this problem is that the lead, Aaron Taylor Johnson, phoned in a dogshit performance complete with cringe-inducing, try-hard one-liners that usually featured some real stiff robotic delivery. We already talked about how useless a character Calypso is, as she just randomly appeared when needed to Deus Ex Machina the story. Kraven's little brother, Dimitri, is just a wiener. He's later revealed to be the chameleon, but that plays no part in the story until the final scenes, well after the story has run its course. Their dad, played by Russell Crowe, turned in what could be considered the best performance of the film, but in a movie like this, that doesn't mean it was good. And somehow the villains were even worse than all of them. The main villain, Rhino, has some affliction that turns him into, you guessed it, a Rhino Man with a near invulnerable hide. This overacted doucher literally has to wear a camelback throughout the entire film that feeds him chemicals that keep his affliction at bay. But then halfway through, the movie introduced another villain into the mix, and from there the movie itself wasn't even sure which villain they should go with. The other villain is some sort of hypnotist that just puts people in a trance and then he murders them. And it's as interesting as it sounds. Making matters worse than these two villains being super lame on their own, their reasoning for even wanting to kill Kraven is spurious at best. They want Kraven dead because something they're bad guys. When the movie comes to the climactic fight at the end between Kraven and Rhino, Kraven doesn't even know who this guy is or why he's doing any of this. And he definitely had no idea who the other villain was. Needless to say, it's impossible to care when they finally come into conflict with each other because you're not even sure why any of this is happening. The final fight is just the flaccid exclamation point on a story that wasn't worth telling in any form, much less in a big budget movie. Not only was there no excitement for Kraven the Hunter in the run-up to the movie, but the marketing began to reek of desperation. They ramped up the marketing big time in the week before the movie's release, and they even put out the first 8 minutes of the movie online, hoping that would show people that it was worth watching. Of course, they probably landed on the random 8-minute figure because it all flew off a cliff starting in the 9th minute. But the writing was already on the wall, and Kraven was actually pulled from thousands of screens before it even released, with those theaters deciding that Wicked and Moana 2 are too stiff of competition for Kraven. And as far as I can tell, the only reason this movie is rated R is so that this chick could say the F word twice. At least the movie does feature a veritable who's who of literal Who comic book characters. You have Kraven, Calypso, Kraven's little brother Chameleon, Rhino, and the other villain whose name I didn't even catch, and I watched the whole movie. I looked it up and he's called the Foreigner, so that's cool. Through some witch doctor voodoo priestess fuckery, this movie has a 73% on Rotten Tomatoes from fans, which makes this a rare moment where it looks like the critics got it right over the fans. Metacritic is much closer to the target, with fans giving it a 3.8 out of 10 there. The proof is in the pudding though, as Kraven the Hunter only managed to pull in $26 million its opening weekend, and that's globally. With a budget in the $110 to $130 million range, that puts Kraven in serious flop territory. It didn't even keep pace with MORBIUS, and it only beat out the worst movie of the year, Madame Web, among the lineup of Sony Spiderverse films. Clearly, this movie is a hate watch. It's not worth your time or money, and it's not even a particularly fun hate watch, the kind that's at least entertaining to dunk on. I'd give this movie a 3. With a plethora of poorly acted, lame characters delivering cringy dialogue in bad, fake Russian accents in service of a weak story, Kraven the Hunter has it all, baby. Everything you don't want in a movie, that is. And it looks like it's going to spell the end of the Sony Spiderverse, save for the films about Spider-Man at least. So yes, Kraven the Hunter is a crappy movie, and it'll fade into obscurity along the likes of Morbius and Madame Web as another cape film that had no business making it past the ideation phase. Did you know about the character Kraven the Hunter before this movie? Who do you think the next obscure, irrelevant character to get their own movie will be? Are there any superhero movies on the horizon that you actually have an interest in? Let us know in the comments below. And remember to like the video and subscribe to Hatewatchers for reviews of other current shows and movies. Thank you for hunting this prey with us today, and we'll catch you on the next one.